sports. So someone explain this to me. Okay, here's first of all, Michigan has received from the Big Ten. This came down kind of late yesterday from the Big Ten. They have received, no, this is the wrong one. It's the Brett McMurphy tweet. Has received notice from the Big Ten about specific sign stealing allegations, does not indicate what penalties will be administered. So there we are with Michigan. There's no news there. But again, at the very bottom, Michigan will legally fight any disciplinary actions which potentially would block any suspensions from occurring this season if, in fact, it ever came to that point. So now the letter has been sent. This is really more late yesterday than it is today. But there we are. We'll have a follow-up on that in just a second.
Well, here's the other problem that the Big Ten has. So the NCAA has it in their bylaws that if somebody underneath a coach is found guilty of something, then whether the coach has plausible deniability or not, you can punish the head coach because it's his job to monitor these things. Let's call that the Rick Pitino clause, because Rick Pitino has plenty of plausible deniability of some of the things, especially the stripper parties that went on at Louisville. I can kind of believe that you would never tell Rick Pitino in particular about that because he would stop you from doing it because he's like, that's going to come back on me. But if there was no rule that would punish Rick Pitino for such things, he could just meet with all his coaches and go, do whatever the hell you want. I just don't want to know about it. I want the labor pain. I want the baby, not the labor pains, So they have that rule. The Big Ten does not. The Big Ten's bylaws say they punish the institution. So what that means is still ambiguous as to right now. But the other 13 teams in the Big Ten want some sort of blood for this. And Michigan obviously is not just going to roll over and give it to them. So this is far from over.
You don't have to say anything if you don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to it. Yeah.
And I'm tired of it, but it is still
I'm not
there.
tired of it, but
I am.
I'm not. It's been like a week-old story compared to other things we talk about for months on end. It just seems like there's a lot of spinning of the wheels, and it's not really moving in another direction just yet. It's all kind of setting up to move into a certain direction, whether that is the Big Ten pursuing something or that's in turn Michigan filing a lawsuit, back or whatever. I'm kind of ready to get to that part of it. The whole what can they do, what will they do, how will they do it, and all of that part of it is not that interesting to me. The flinging of mud back and forth. Well, will you do it? Will you do it too? And all that. I don't care for any of that stuff really. I don't have much to add on that other than it's just, continuing to peel back the layers on all the potential possibilities. But I will be more alert when there are actual things going down in the regards to this story. All
right, then there's this one here, and I really don't know how to grab onto this one. This is from that CFB rep. I've also seen others. Pat Forty has a story. R.J. Johnson has a story about a former employee at a Big Ten program, I'm not reading all of this, that said that it was his job to steal signs, given details from multiple league schools to compile a spreadsheet of play calling signals used by Michigan last year, recently shared the documents, which showed the Wolverine signs and corresponding plays and exchanges with other Big Ten programs. Here's the first thing I thought when I first thought, oh, okay. But then this is what I also thought. And I saw Dan Wetzel said, this must be a group project. Help me out here. Is this now, okay, wait a minute, we're taking a beating here. We need to come up with a way to defend ourselves and find something else that people have been doing against us.
It just gets more complex in that, the other thing that happens, especially inside conferences is, if you're a defensive analyst at Michigan and you kind of know some things that Michigan does, and then you become a safeties coach at, say, Indiana, because that's a move up, because it's usually easier to move inside the conference that you're in because there's more connections there, then you can these things start kind of proliferating. So I don't know, and then you start saying, well, we know that Michigan's doing this because we know that goes back to last year. So now you've got one, and a Big Ten employee that's saying, well, I started this to combat Michigan because we didn't think anything was going to happen to them. And then you've got this whole just 360-degree wheel of everybody trying to screw each other over.
What is that one meme, and you guys help me out, where it's
Spider-Man?
like Spider-Man?
Yeah.
That's what this is about to become, probably.
I mean, yeah, it's just. Oh well, it's not just. I mean, it's just trying to deflect the blame. That's all that is, really.
Sure.
I don't. You know, I've said this about college sports and college football. I think on every topic known to man, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Yeah, I believe it. Guys are cheating. Yeah, I believe it. People are breaking the rules in recruiting. Sure, of course they are. People are paying under the table when they, weren't allowed to do that. Yeah, of course they were. This and that, all that stuff. Yeah, I believe it's true, and I do believe that Michigan was involved in something, and I do believe that there are other schools out there, like another school with Michigan in their name that's still oddly quiet, that can't seem to figure out a guy on their sidelines in their own gear and all that. It's still bizarre all these days later, but regardless, yeah, I believe there was something fishy going on there, and that's why we haven't heard anything, and I believe that, yeah, Ohio State's bent the rules, or, well, maybe not Northwestern, but you know what I mean, and so... Yeah, I think all that's serving to do is just be like, it's not just Michigan.
Yeah.
It's not just us, but you know what? The story and the focus right now is very much on Michigan. Now, if you want to pour out all the dirty details on the Buckeyes or the Gophers or, any team outside of the Big Ten, go ahead and do that and show some proof in the pudding. But, yeah, let's not lose sight of where this all originated and where this all goes back to. And it goes back to Michigan and their football program. So, yeah, I have no doubts that other stuff is going on. And, I'm just curious of how – much people want to get into the mud while also realizing that, the deeper that you get, the more that could come flinging back at you. And so that'll be interesting to see as this moves on along, because I'm sure there are people out there that absolutely want to see Michigan get dinged for this, but also have to be careful because it might uncover some things on their own part. So, yeah, we're very much in the weeds in the mud on this story, and I don't know if we've gotten as dirty as we're going to get here just yet, but certainly, it all circles back to the same place, and that's Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I was reading, I guess it was Wetzel and Dellinger, and talking about tomorrow could be potentially a day where we start to hear maybe about what the Big Ten plans on doing as far as their pursuit of penalties, although there's nothing, I guess, right now connecting, Harbaugh specifically to the sign stealing and all of that. So there's still a lot to unfold here, I feel like, and it's an interesting story. I'm a little bit dead on it like you are. I'm just kind of hearing the same thing and kind of the finger pointing. But I am curious to see where this moves next, because there will be lawyers and there will be potential penalties, and whatever those penalties are, those will be interesting to see regardless.
It makes me wonder if it ends up being like the FBI investigation
Yeah.
into college basketball, which, oh my God, and that's that clutch your pearls, even if, yeah, maybe you should, but it eventually at some point leads to not much at all. Speaking of cheating, this is still one of the greatest quotes from a guy that the NCAA eventually just chased down and just hammered him. From Jerry Tarkanian, the late, great UNLV men's basketball coach. I hope Phil Venzer's watching. He's a big Vegas fan. Anytime college programs are screaming at each other about ethics, always heed the words of Jerry Tarkanian. 9 out of the 10 teams are cheating. The other is in last place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said at the very start of my little ramble I absolutely believe that everybody's cheating to some extent. I absolutely believe that. It's college sports. How could you believe otherwise at this point, given all the evidence we've had over the decades of people trying to find that advantage? And, so that's dead on, and it rings as true today as whenever he first said that.
All right, so yesterday I was going to get to this. We never did. Bill Connolly from ESPN. He